Hi guys, just a little warning. This episode does deal with some mature topics. It does have a mention of rape and sexual abuse, and it also has some distressing imagery that may give some children nightmares. So just putting that out there. Thank you very much. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, I'm Safi,
And I'm Mystic.
and this is Lore Together, the podcast where we lore together about video game worlds and all of that good stuff.
This is episode 6, and this episode we're continuing our look at the Daedric princes.
We will finally, after today, at least for a while, be done with the Elder Scrolls lore. Yay! I'm not necessarily hating on Elder Scrolls, but
We have other things we want to look at too.
Yeah, we didn't realize this was going to be 4 episodes, but we are committed to giving you what we promised to give you. So, this is the second half on the Daedric princes.
Yes. If you want to go back and listen to episode 5, you'll get the first half of the Daedric princes as well as the general gist of who the Daedric princes are and all that stuff. This is going to be a detailed look at the last half of them.
And I think now is a good time to do the segue into how you can follow us. Twitter at Lore Together. You can email us loretogether@gmail.com. You can follow our Patreon, which is
patreon.com/loretogether. And you can find us on Reddit at the username LoreTogetherPod.
Yeah, because that's where I'm usually the one on Twitter and Mystic's usually the one on Reddit. So we're out and about. And join our Patreon so you can vote on what happens next. Woo! When it comes to what we're going to research.
Yes, you get early access to episodes, to our off-week live streams.
Yeah.
And then you can also vote on further podcasts. And we'll start talking about other ideas we can have for further benefits.
The first bits of research Mystic already had lined up, but after, I think, next episode, we might want to... We might want to start doing polls and everything. Woo, polls!
Well, let's dig into the... We're going to start off with with one of the big bad Daedric princes.
Okay, so last week we covered... Can we just go over the names we covered last week in case somebody wants to know who we talked about last week?
Sure. Last time we covered Azura, Boethia, Clavicus Vile, Hermanus Mora, Hircine, Malakath, Mehrunes Dagon, Mephala, and Meridia.
Yes. Okay. So those were the first 8? Was it 8?
I didn't count.
I didn't count either. So. I'm not the best at math sometimes.
We're not going in purely alphabetical order, so it's kind of hard to also just count the list. We skipped Jigalag last time. We'll get to him this time.
Yes. So if you wanted to hear about those, listen to episode 5, and episode 6 is covering the rest. We're not covering Daedric species because that's going to be its own thing if and when we get to it.
But let's start with the next Daedric prince, who... this is a heavy one, so please heed the warning that was at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
This is Molag Bal.
Molag Bal. That already sounds gross. That already sounds like a ball of COVID-19. This is why I'm in quarantine kind of gross. So...
Yes. Other names that Molag Bal goes by: King of Rape.
Oh gosh, no, don't, no, why?
Father of Vampires, God of Schemes, Father of Cold Harbor, Harvester of Souls, Schemer Prince. His sphere is domination and enslavement.
Oh yeah, that's oh man. I mean, the vampire part was cool, and then everything else just makes me want to puke right now. Oh man.
Plane is called Cold Harbor. We've seen Cold Harbor, particularly in Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay, which is set how many centuries before?
Elder Scrolls Online is in the Second Era. I don't remember how many years that is. It's at least 1,000.
It's at least so it's at least about an eon before Skyrim per se.
Yeah.
Okay.
In earlier games, in the book The Doors of Oblivion, it was described as resembling Nirn.
Okay.
Both the ground that was nothing more than sludge and a sky that's constantly burning, and yet the air is freezing cold. And
this is it just sounds like a sewage plant in the Arctic, where the smell is just there enough, but it's really that disgusting. I hate cold humidity. I mean, most people hate humidity in general, but being in
cold, it's like
Chicago can get cold and humid at the same time, and it's something you forget is a combination that happens. But at
and you
least,
just feel sick.
oh,
Like,
you just feel ugh. I understand the dry heat's easier to deal with anyway, but dry cold, as much as it's bad for your skin, it just wet, humid winters are just they're
Yeah.
not fun either.
there's even an alternative Imperial Palace in this place. It is dripping with blood and laden with corpses.
Oh gosh, okay. I'm gonna puke at some point, I think.
Any mortal entering the realm is captured, enslaved, and turned into one of Molag Bal's soul shriven.
Soul shriven.
Soulless slaves laboring for eternity under Molag Bal's command. There's a lot of tongue twisters in this
This
passage.
sounds like kind of the same concept of the Darklings in Kingdom Hearts. The Heartless, that's what they're called.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, I don't want to do the lore for that one.
I think someday, okay, you guys have to join the Patreon if you want to force Mystic to do this, because I think it's an interesting lore. I just think it's just, some lore for certain RPGs is just so far up its own artistic butt, yes, that it's definitely, I like to smell my own farts thing after a point, once you realize why certain, it's crazy. But I'm reminded of that, kind of like the shriveled up thing. Or if we want to do a different reference, I'm now reminded of when Ursula in The Little Mermaid had those little souls in the jars that look like desiccated
Poor unfortunate
little.
souls.
Yeah, those.
It's a great song.
Okay. I don't even like The Little Mermaid, but I love Ursula's part in it. It's probably because Ursula was based off of a drag queen. So
as with any Disney movie, though, the music is good.
The music is
They're
definitely
all
good.
earworms.
Yes. The music is good. I was much more of an Aladdin Lion King kid growing up. That was me.
Anyway, let's get back to the poor unfortunate souls of the soul
Yeah,
shriven.
in the realm of the King of Rape, which just so gross.
You start Elder Scrolls Online, at least when it initially came out. When I first played Elder Scrolls Online, you started as a soul shriven. You were in Cold Harbor.
Well, that's a great way to start a game. Hey,
I actually liked it because it was different
Okay.
than like being a prisoner on Tamriel or just like an agent of the Empire
Well,
or
in case
whatever.
anybody couldn't tell with my tone, I was meaning it sarcastically because I wouldn't want to be in a realm where the person who rules it is sometimes called the King of Rape. Like, that's just not a comfortable position to be in.
As a note, I have not tried starting Elder Scrolls Online with the expansions, so they may have changed what the start is, but that's what it was when I first played it.
I can understand the concept of starting from a place where you don't have much of anything, because the Dark Souls games do that too, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Dealing with the King of Rape thing.
Yeah,
it is said that
we got to deal with this. I'm sorry, because we're trying to keep it accurate. I apologize, but
this is why this episode had a trigger warning at the beginning.
Right, exactly.
It is said that a pure-blooded female vampire have to offer themselves to Molag Bal. Serana, specifically during Dawnguard, when you meet her, says that those who survive, become daughters of Cold Harbor. So he is directly linked to vampires and the creation of vampires and everything.
This is so gross. This is just repulsive.
Yes.
I don't think you shouldn't have things like this in video games, but it's just one of those things where it's just a lot to take in.
Yes, especially when we're condensing it down in this way.
Right. This is something that if you want to experience Elder Scrolls, you do not have to experience this part.
Correct.
I'll just say that. I don't want anybody getting turned off from the
But
universe
keep in mind,
because of this.
Elder Scrolls is a mature series.
It is a mature series. It is not meant for youthful tastes.
Well, many Daedra have been present for major events or behind major events or been antagonists. Mehrunes Dagon, was the main antagonist of
And we had a lot of people
Oblivion.
who were like schemers and power pushers last time, definitely.
Most do not taunt you directly as such as Molag Bal does. You actually fight him.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. He's so detestable, it's hard to have a following.
Right. He is usually depicted almost always male.
Okay, makes
sense.
But
according to the cult of the witches of Molag Bal, he sometimes I'm using he incorrectly, but appears female to them.
Okay.
Strange clawed digitrade feet with a horned demonic or reptilian head. Looks like a shriveled corpse and has this long tail. One interesting thing I did find, I haven't done this for the other Daedra, but I just had to call it out because of the pedigree of this actor. In Elder Scrolls Online, he was voiced by Malcolm McDowell.
Seriously? Oh my gosh. Now, for those of you who don't recognize Malcolm McDowell...
the thing I knew him most from was Star Trek Generations, but most people will probably know him
from the lead in A Clockwork Orange, which is, if you want to talk about somebody who can play somebody really sick and twisted, Malcolm McDowell is the perfect guy for that. He's really good at personifying it and getting the nuance of evil. So I think there's not a lot of better choices you could have made for something so repulsive and abhorrent. It's, oh gosh, yeah, okay, icky.
Getting from someone who is, as you said, disgusting and vile, we're going to go to someone who actually is disgusting and vile, Namira.
But this sounds like less, this is less...
Domination and whatever, yes.
Yeah, okay.
She goes by the Spirit Daedra, the Great Darkness, the Lady of Decay.
Okay.
Her sphere is the Ancient Darkness and all things repulsive.
And all things repulsive. Okay.
Yeah, her plane is called the Scuttling Void.
I just have this image of like a head crab farting across a dark desert plain or something.
Surprisingly, that's about as accurate as anything else. There is nothing known...
It's a guess, too.
Well, there is nothing else known about this place other than the name.
Okay.
Nobody has ever seen it and returned.
Oh. Okay, I'm making that my headcanon, guys. Just so you know.
She is associated with spiders, insects, slugs, and other repulsive creatures.
Okay. Maggots, I'm assuming, and things like that. Ooh, that just reminds me of like Maggot Girl. That is not safe for work story, and it is not intended for children under the age of 18. But it is a famous, repulsive story from the internet, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Sounds like that woman would be a worshiper of Namira.
Speaking of worshiper, there is a book called... There's not a lot on Namira, so we're going to go into a story about her at this point. There's a book called The Beggar Prince, which tells a tale of Weedle. Weedle is the 13th child of a king in Valenwood. So far from power.
Oh, yeah.
Who follows Nimra around begging at her feet to be her apprentice to gain power.
Right.
And eventually Nimra just gives up. She's tired of him. She follows him around for almost a month, like just following constantly, begging at her feet. She gives up. She gives him 3 blessings.
Okay.
Disease.
Ooh.
He can make himself appear to have any disease, but he only one at a time, but he actually has it.
Right.
Pity. People will pity him.
Okay.
And disregard.
Ooh.
He can hear things that people may be talking in secret that are in his earshot. They will not. They'll ignore him being there.
Wow.
And he can hear what, like, kind of like he can hear the secrets that people have.
Whoa.
As all these blessings are his, he is legendary amongst the beggars of Tamriel.
Makes sense. Absolutely.
Namira is also the patron of Tamriel's cannibals. Due to their revulsive nature of eating flesh, they're like, yeah, this is great.
Now, and cannibals throughout Tamriel, I'm assuming, are more of the violent, they slay people for cannibalism time?
Yes, there's a group. Namira's quest in Skyrim is dealing with a group. We actually talked about this a little bit before when we talked about Barbas, that there was a guy who was feeding people to his dog.
Yes.
And, that he was part of a cult of Namira of cannibals.
Okay.
Now, I don't think she is a patron of the Bosmer. And we're going to dip a tiny toe into the Bosmer just to explain this, because it's kind of a weird thing that I couldn't really figure out. And maybe Aramithius can help me with this.
Shout out to Aramithius.
And the podcast, Written in Uncertainty.
Written in Uncertainty, which is just all this deep lore, right?
Yeah. So, the Bosmer practice ritualistic cannibalism.
Okay.
This is tied to the Green Pact with their own deity, Y'ffre. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Or Y'ffre. But because of this forest deity, they cannot harm a plant for their own benefit.
Oh.
So they practice... They eat meat and therefore have cannibalism as part of it.
Is it kind of like the cannibalism where if somebody dies, you eat them to keep a part of them with you?
I couldn't find part of that, but I didn't read all of that. But one thing I do remember from my research was if you kill someone in battle, you have 3 days to eat them.
Okay.
Like, it is very ritualistic, and we'll touch on that more when we talk about Valenwood in detail and the Bosmer.
Which we'll take a decent break from Elder Scrolls before we get back into it. But it's definitely, as you can see, this world is very rich. So we're always going to dip our toe in every once in a while, and then go back out, and then go back in. And
this
go
is
back
not
out.
an Elder Scrolls podcast, but Elder Scrolls is probably the largest universe we'll be dipping into. I'd say
one of the largest. I would say definitely.
Back to Namira, she is depicted as female, usually with the slick, oily robe of darkness that has fallen from her shoulders. Mm-hmm. She just looks weird. There's not a lot of depictions of her.
Mm-hmm.
but that's generally how she looks. We can move on to Nocturnal, who is the Night Mistress, the Urdra, Queen of Murk, Empress of Shadow, Mistress of Shadows, Lady Luck.
Nocturnal. How would I have guessed that she had half of those subtitles?
Her sphere is night.
Ooh, who would have?
And darkness.
They're usually better with these names, so I'm just totally giving them a lot of grief over this.
Her plane is called the Evergloam, and we'll get to that in a moment. Claims to be, as the Night Mistress, part of the original Void.
Okay.
If you remember back to your creation.
All right.
Her very nature is such that humans cannot understand her, and she is the embodiment of the unfathomable and the enigmatic.
So she's just H.P. Lovecraft creation.
Well, not in the sense of, like, Hermanus Mora was definitely like a Lovecraftian horror.
Right.
So, she is seen as a patron of those who work in the night and the shadows, spies and thieves. Though she doesn't really revel in worship, she doesn't care that if people worship her. She doesn't, bestow blessings. In fact, it's kind of interesting. Being seen as a patron of thieves is kind of weird because they keep stealing her artifacts from her.
But that sounds like a worthy way to worship a patron of thieves, though.
Yeah, the most interesting one I found, there's one called the Skeleton Key, which is just, it opens any lock or whatever. It's unbreakable, all that stuff. The other one that I found really interesting is the Cowl of Nocturnal.
The Cowl of Nocturnal. That sounds like a bag of holding.
It is a mask, and it removed the wearer from history. No one would ever be able to retain any long-term memory of interacting with the cowl's wearer. Even if they pulled the cowl off in plain sight, people would forget about it. They wouldn't even remember who it was. Books would be, changed.
This is almost kind of like the effect of the Spirit Cole in Dragon Age Inquisition. If anybody's ever played that, one of my favorite series of all time. And Cole very much will do things and then just immediately be forgotten. And that's just a spirit kind of thing you can that spirits do in that game. But that kind of reminds me of that. It's kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like that with Majora's Mask too, but I'd have to ask my brother because he's the one who's played that.
Well, we'll research that eventually. I do want to do Zelda eventually, although that lore is also a little convoluted, and I think it's because they didn't plan on it being a continual series.
Yeah, when we get to it, they'll probably, because somebody tried to connect the lore and literally Miyamoto went, it's not connected. We're trying.
Since he said that, I think they do have an actual Hyrule Historia out now.
Okay.
So
cool.
The blessing or curse, depending on how you look at it, was broken during the Oblivion Crisis by the hero of Kvatch.
Okay.
We'll get to the Oblivion Crisis at some point in the future.
Maybe. There's so many things we're listing that I feel like years from now we'll be like, we're finally getting to the thing we mentioned in episode 6.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true. Once we start doing weekly episodes, it'll go by faster, which is a goal on the Patreon, by the way, if you want to help us get to weekly. It's just editing and research and stuff just takes time. Nocturnal is depicted as a woman in a hooded robe with birds on her outstretched arms.
Okay.
In earlier games, notably Daggerfall, when she first appeared, her robes kind of hid her torso and you could see her legs.
Interesting.
Now they've actually changed it in more recent games that it doesn't block her torso. She has a plunging neckline that is subtly shade distracting.
Which of course is half the point, I'm sure.
Which is half the point. I remember reading, I don't know if this is actually from lore or if it's a fan theory, so caveat on this, but somebody said that it was kind of a play on the fact that she worked with thieves and spies, so, being a distraction, that's a distraction, so it's kind of embodiment of that aspect. Okay. Personally, I think it's probably just there so the designers have some sex appeal.
I wouldn't be surprised, It could also be as simple as a Lara Croft Tomb Raider accident, too.
No, this is designed that way.
Oh, so this is intentional. Okay. Yeah.
Next, we're going pretty fast. This may be a short episode. I apologize if it is, but some of these are pretty short entries, such as Periite, the Taskmaster, the Bringer of Pestilence.
Ew, gross.
Their spheres, Ordering of the Lowest Orders of Oblivion, and Pestilence.
It's funny how we're doing the later half of the alphabet, and this is the one that's covered with the most disgusting and reviled of the Daedra.
Part of it is that some of these there's just not a lot known, such as Periite's plane is called the Pits, and it's only been shown once, and I think it's inaccurate, actually.
Is it? Oh, I was going to say, does somebody just lift their arm and that's...
So we see Peryite's pits in the game Oblivion.
Which I immediately just think somebody's just lifting their arms, like as soon as you say it.
Here's
like
the thing:
that.
in Oblivion, it looks like Mehrunes Dagon's Deadlands. It's like rocky with lava and a red sky and stuff. It looks like the Deadlands, so it's like that doesn't look like any different from Mehrunes Dagon. So why would it not look different?
Right.
So I'm thinking that it's probably inaccurate. Maybe it's just that this is one quest. They didn't want to make a whole new area for it.
Oh.
I don't know. If I'm wrong about that, someone please point that out. But I can't find any other description.
We're happy to take corrections, guys. We do not have pride like that.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right for Peryite being pestilence that fire and lava would be present so much.
Pestilence makes me think more of like an abandoned hovel town.
A swamp.
Yeah,
a fog,
swamp.
Something.
Yeah,
you know.
a bog of some sort. I would immediately just think too, unfortunately, those horrible images of like starving children covered in gnats and vultures.
Yeah.
Circling by. Someplace where you can see that happening.
Peryite is seen as is one of the few Daedra, along with Molag Bal and Vermina, who we'll get to, who is just completely evil, seen as completely evil by people of Tamriel, and has directly influenced almost every life on Nirn, being pestilence.
Right, of course, absolutely.
Peryite is usually depicted as a large dragon or worm, kind of a corrupted version of Akatosh, kind of.
Oh, okay. Akatosh, which is the delicious breakfast. And so this guy's basically is the food poisoning in the delicious brunch that's called Akatosh.
If you want information on Akatosh, episode 4, which was the Aedra.
Yes.
The eight divines of the Imperial.
Where we thought of brunch plans with some of them. Yeah.
Peryite can be a aspect of a gathering of large rats. Rats carry plague.
Right.
Now we get to one of the fun ones, or at least what I feel is one of the fun ones.
Better be a lot more fun than Mogul blah 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 that guy.
Pretty much. It depends how you look at it. He could be.
This guy
it's
in
subjective.
particular, you mean? Yeah.
This guy is subjective. Sanguine, Lord of Revelry.
Oh, okay.
Sphere is hedonism, debauchery, indulgence.
Oh, like a Dionysus, but with a twist.
Yeah, his plane is called the Myriad Realms of Revelry.
Realms of Revelry, woo!
It is a series of...
Spring break, get my beads, what?
It is a series, if you want to know the beads, ask your parents.
Ask your parents for beads, they'll be mortified.
It is a series of thousands, hundreds of thousands, little pocket realms.
Oh, wow. Well, that would make sense.
The realms are used as little pleasurable pockets where guests can personally customize them with great latitude, just whatever they want.
This just sounds like the Hollow Suites in Deep Space Nine to me right now. Like, this is such a Quark endeavor. Yeah.
Sanguine doesn't enforce absolute control over the realms.
Oh,
He abdicates from it as it is his nature to indulge.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm kind of too busy with this meal right now. Somebody else handle this crap, please.
Well, more like, oh, you want that? Indulge yourself. Like, he wants you to indulge.
Oh, okay.
So, in Khajiit religion, I found this kind of fun. He is known as Sangin.
Sangin, okay.
The Blood Cat, who is known to test Khajiit with promises of immortality and debaucheries of the flesh.
Ah.
So I just like that name. I also like dipping into the religions a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Basically, he's the deity of lust, sin, sloth, gluttony, greed.
Right.
Every indulgence is his thing.
It's kind of like Dibella was kind of more of this passions kind of thing.
Well, Dibella is more like the passions, but it's like divine inspiration. This guy is just have fun and it's like art and beauty and passion with Dibella, and Sanguine is like, no, go and have an orgy just for orgy's sake.
This, Sanguine is the dad who everybody thinks is the cool dad when they're 13, but then they get to be about 19 and they realize that wasn't a cool dad at all.
Exactly.
That was a very dangerous parent to have around.
So, like, the way that you meet Sanguine in Skyrim is you have a drinking contest.
Ooh. With
somebody named Sam Guinevere, which is... And then you black out. You wake up in the temple.
I know this mission.
You wake up in the temple of Dibella, and then you have to recreate this drunken night that you had.
It's one of the best missions, guys. If you ever play Skyrim, just do it. It's hilarious because you start.
Well, don't spoil it.
Piecing things. Oh, there's some.
I forget which level Sam Guinevere appears in, but he will appear in almost any inn in Skyrim, so you have to kind of travel around if you want to find him sometimes.
Yeah.
It is worth the trip. That is one of the few times you actually see the realms of debauchery, not the realms of debauchery, the realms of revelry yourself.
Okay.
In a realm called a pocket realm called the Misty Grove.
The Misty
Which
Grove, okay.
I want a mod for Skyrim Special Edition that puts a player house in the Misty Grove. It is beautiful to look at.
What's it look like?
It is a misty kind of like, actually it's kind of like a little bit like Channelwood. Remember Channelwood from Myst?
Yes.
It's like water and trees and stuff, and there's mist all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's lanterns that are lighting up everything.
Oh, okay.
And the sky is like weirdly like ethereal, starry, but it's like it looks weird, but it looks very beautiful too.
Ethereal as in, is it like translucent, or is
it's kind
What
it's hard
color
to
is
describe. I think it's like a bluish green, but it's like bluish green. It's a bluish green pattern. It's not like the sky itself is bluish green. It's like you're looking into space and it looks weird.
Okay.
But it looks great. I love it. I actually just wanted to go back there, and you can't go back there once you leave.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because if you do, it does. So apparently, it does glitch on console. Actually, I did read that earlier. And if you go back there, you can never leave because Sanguine isn't there to send you back, so you're just stuck.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Sanguine's a fun one. Then we're getting to we didn't do Jiggalag last time. We're not doing Jiggalag just yet, but we have to explain part of Jiggalag, which is Sheogorath.
Sheogorath. Now, Sheogorath sounds like a monster I fought in Dungeons and Dragons in high school.
Sheogorath, the Mad God, the Lord of the Never There, Sovereign of the Shivering Isles, Prince of Madness.
Yee! Madness!
Pretty much. His plane is the Shivering Isles. It is separated into two distinct communities. Mania, the fantastic, colorful side where art enthusiasts and insane revelers reside, and, it's all just that type of stuff.
It's really fun until you realize somebody's tearing their face apart for their art. That's what it's
right,
like.
But then on the other side, there's Dementia.
Ooh.
The horrific, dark, and ominous side where, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. No.
Both sides of madness. Like...
Oh,
yeah.
that's so sad.
Sheogorath savors the act of driving mortals insane and making them perform acts which are seen as trivial or silly. He is completely unpredictable and comments in just the most weird ways on things and socially unacceptable statements. He refers to entrails and kidneys and intestines and like all sorts of stuff a lot, and has a very curious obsession with cheese.
Because cheese is a maddening food when you think about it. Let me give you this pitch. So we realized eons ago, I believe, that after an animal is pregnant, it makes juice. And you can only get that juice for a certain amount of time. That juice is full of fat. We decide that we're going to ferment this fatty part of this juice until it's solidified into something that, anywhere from a hard rock to spreadable. And then we decided to eat that animal juice rock.
I'm giving Safi a look.
This is cheese, guys. This is literally what cheese is.
And it is delicious.
I'm not saying you're wrong for liking it, but anybody who's into madness and you think logically about the idea of cheese, it makes perfect sense that it just, it's kind of like you look at a lobster and you wonder who was the first person to think that you can eat something like that. Cheese is kind of the same way. Was it an accident the whole time?
Oh,
did we start from milk and then it didn't like...
Well, it's like bees, with honey. It's like, oh, those things hurt when I go near them. They got to be hiding something good in there.
Yeah. Like, it's, insect vomit. That's immediately the thing I think of when I want to sweeten my tea.
Yeah.
But you're saying his obsession with cheese makes sense because logically we should have never thought of cheese as something we'd want to consume. But here we are eating mammal juice rocks.
Okay, that was a digression that was weird, but it makes sense.
I just had to. No, cheese makes perfect. Okay, cheese just makes sense. Oh, and then
all the lactose intolerant people are going, no, you're right.
We let that. Oh, the vegans love this. And just think of it. Also, then on top of that, we also then decided that this mammal juice rock should get mold on it, and then it's better. And I say that as somebody who loves a good blue cheese. So I'm just trying to sell on the fact that somebody whose domain is the realm of madness and mania, I mean,
I
that's
think
the kind
I
of
think
stuff that will drive you crazy when you think about logically, like, how did we get to this point where we're eating moldy mammal juice rocks?
Safi, I think that you've put more thought into why he says cheese than the writers probably did.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm happy. I would love to know who wrote that so I can just give. I want to gift that. That's my gift to you. If you didn't think of this and now you have a reason, I want to give that to you, writer.
To give a point to his madness, actually, a little bit.
Okay.
And make it more clear how crazy this guy is. One of his artifacts is called the Wabbajack.
The Wabbajack?
It's a staff, at least in Skyrim, and you wave it at somebody, and they turn into something.
You have no idea what, but it's something.
Chickens, rabbits, wolves, creatures, whatever. Like,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know how far that goes. I do know there is a crazy woman who is a follower of Sheogorath who just runs up to you at some point and starts screaming, Wabbajack! 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 And she will not shut up until you use the Wabbajack on her.
Oh, like she's like, this would be the greatest honor if I'm transformed by the Wabbajack.
Yeah. Sheogorath speaks with an exaggerated mix of Irish and Scottish accents.
Okay.
Though these kind of slowly fade as the Grey March approaches. We'll get to the Grey March in just a moment. He is depicted mostly as a human male with strange colored set of clothing. Almost like Two-Face and Batman. It's kind of split down the middle.
Okay.
One side is like purple and the other side's orange, or some dichotomy like that.
Okay.
His eyes are completely black with like glowing irises, or completely clouded over. It depends on the game. In Oblivion, he had like completely black eyes with glowing irises. In Skyrim, it was completely clouded over.
Okay.
And we'll get to Jiggalag now.
Jiggalag.
Who is the Lord of Order.
So he doesn't like Sheogorath, I'm assuming.
His sphere is order.
Okay.
His plane is the Shivering Isles.
What? Okay.
So here's the thing. Jiggalag represents logical order and deduction and has taken account of every detail in the world of every action that has ever taken place on Mundus or Oblivion long before they actually happen.
Okay.
As a result, he believes in certainty and determinism.
Ooh.
And that the concept of individuality is an illusion.
Yeah, I hate those philosophies.
Jiggalag was at one time the most powerful of the Daedric princes because he knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah, so essentially he was also kind of like a seer because he was the one who wrote it.
He was so powerful that the other princes began to fear him and his power. So, as a result, they cursed him to live in opposition of everything he stood for, to live the life of a madman and bring chaos and insanity rather than order and logic. Henceforth, Jiggalag became known as Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness. This is why I wanted to do them both together.
So Jiggalag technically is Sheogorath now because that's his punishment, is to embrace madness because he was so obsessed with order he became too powerful.
Yes.
Okay.
And
yeah, I can see that.
Jiggalag is allowed to return from his original form once after every era in the Shivering Isles.
Okay.
This is the event known as the Grey March.
Okay.
Sheogorath slowly becomes Jiggalag, which is why the accent starts to change back and everything and all that stuff.
Okay.
And then calls the Knights of Order, who are given to him by the Priest of Order. Basically, there's madness and order at war in the Shivering Isles at this time.
Okay.
But
it's kind of a futile thing because it's always going to return back to madness.
Which is the punishment.
Right.
So...
Oh, Sisyphus and his rock. That's
yes.
what it is. Myth of Sisyphus, guys.
So Jiggalag emerges, calls the Knights of Order, and they destroy the Shivering Isles completely.
Okay.
They burn it, they kill everybody, everything is destroyed.
That makes sense.
Jiggalag then subsides, Sheogorath comes back, recreates it all. Therefore, both are in constant torment because there is this constant cycle going on.
But what if they revel in it? Why wouldn't they just, after a point, just be like, well, this is the cycle. I kind of like this now because now I get a break and I can...
Because it's not. It's the same person doing it. That's the thing. It's a split personality type thing. It's not like they're two individuals. Mm-hmm. So it's not I'm destroying... It's not like they're destroying it. It's I'm destroying it and have no control. I get what you're saying, Myth of Sisyphus.
Yeah.
But...
I don't know. I think there's a way to embrace that as like I'm now clearing my canvas for my next beautiful...
I don't think anything changes each time, though.
Oh.
Because I think the thing with the Plains of Oblivion is it is perfect for that Daedric Prince. That's their pure view of things. So when it's
Okay.
destroyed, they're just going to recreate it the same.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So it's kind of like this exercise of futility. But during the events of the Oblivion Crisis, Sheogorath kind of feels this one coming.
Okay.
So he sends this island into Cyrodiil. It's this giant sculpture of like faces.
How
with
large
adorned...
would you say it is? A football field size?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, it's not huge. Just big enough to kind of be noticeable on the map is kind of how it is.
Okay.
And this is kind of like people start telling rumors about this door and whatever it is. And you go through there, you meet Sheogorath and stuff. And through the long and short of it is you end up killing Jiglag as he emerges.
Wow.
And this kind of ends the cycle because Daedric princes can't be killed.
Okay.
They can just be banished to oblivion and then they just come back.
Right.
So
okay.
you kill him and basically you end the cycle because now Jiglag is dead. Sheogorath is dead, and they'll be reborn and stuff as Jiglag.
Yeah.
So you, as the hero Kvatch, are made the new Prince of Madness.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I think in Skyrim, this may be why your eyes are why Sheogorath's eyes are clouded, because they're actually the hero Kvatch as Sheogorath now.
Right. So now Sheogorath is a completely different person, and Jiglag now has
Right. They have risen to the level of deity.
Yeah.
Jiglag is depicted. He's only seen once.
Okay.
In the games at all, which is when the hero Kvatch fights him.
Right.
And in the battle, he has a suit of pristine armor. Again, that's a fight.
Yeah.
So who knows if that's what he looks like normally.
Right.
But that's the only time we see him.
I suddenly imagine
After you kill him, he just goes wandering oblivion. He just goes off into the void.
Well, because he's probably starting to process and figure out how to return order to the way he likes it again.
Right.
Is what I would assume. Which is going to take a lot of time considering the powers that be. So.
And then we're on the last one now.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to talk about Vermina.
Vermina.
The Gifter. Sphere is, and this is another one that kind of I wanted to do the trigger warning for.
Okay.
Because the sphere is dreams, nightmares, evil omens, psychological terror and torment,
Ooh.
stealing of memories.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's awful.
Her plane is Quagmire.
Okay.
Many scholars believe that through dreams or otherwise magically unrelated mortals can slip into Quagmire and behold Vermina's presence.
Okay.
Upon speaking to her, Vermina will explain that mortals visit her constantly in their nightmares, speak to her in their sleep, and often wake in a cold sweat upon leaving her presence.
She's just that creepy looking.
She's not creepy looking.
Okay.
She looks like a normal female mage.
Oh, okay.
With deep sleeves and flowing robes and a magic staff and all that stuff.
Okay. But whatever she represents or essentially does to the person in their dreams is apparently enough to have them wake up in a cold sweat.
After a true remembered encounter with Vermina, her followers often claim that nothing on Nirn holds any fear for them.
Okay.
As nothing can be quite as frightening as being in Vermina's presence.
Interesting.
Quagmire itself, sometimes called the Dream Stride, is a terrifying realm. Every time lightning strikes, reality shifts to another horrifying vision. It could be anything from a dark castle to a den of terrifying beasts, a moonlit swamp, or even a casket where you see yourself buried.
So essentially the whole idea of the realm is just every amalgamation of mortal fears known to Nirn, essentially.
Right, and we're going to end our talk on the Daedric Princes here with one myth, actually, to show how much the Daedric truly like to play with mortals in that way. Mehrunes Dagon may want Nirn and want to destroy everything, and Molag Bal wants to enslave everything, but the small gestures, I think, are actually more telling on how they view mortals.
Right.
We are just pawns to them.
Right, exactly.
And so we're going to tell the story here of Darius Shanna.
Okay.
Darius Shanna was a Breton writer living in Dania sometime during the Third Era.
Dania is...
Daenia.
Which one of the provinces in Tamriel?
High Rock, I believe.
Okay.
He was the subject of a wager between Sheogorath and Vermina.
Oh, this is not going to end well.
On who could make Darius be more hated by the populace.
I have a feeling Vermina's going to win this one.
For 10 years, starting at age 19...
Oh, that's the worst.
His dreams were imbued by Vermina with nightmarish horrors. Men being, and this is from his writing, men being skinned and eaten alive by other men.
Ew.
Unimaginable beasts of many limbs and mouths, entire populations being burned, their screams filled his every evening.
Oh my gosh, okay.
He wrote of these terrible dreams, sowing disgust in those who read his works. The next 10 years were Sheogorath's time.
Okay.
His action was simple. He severed the link between Vermina and Darius, so Darius' inspiration was gone.
Interesting.
This in turn made him doubt the very gods themselves.
Oh my gosh.
He starts writing of the foolishness of all of Tamriel's faithful. All of them. Noble, serf, everything. They're all fools for believing in these people, in these deities.
Oh,
which
interesting.
obviously makes him very hated.
Right. The purest of atheists in a world
Right.
where there's literally proof.
Right. 10 years later, with his final work, The Noblest Fool, in which he ridiculed Tiber Septim's status as Talos, the ninth divine.
Oh, man.
The king of Dana, himself a victim of ridicule from Darius' work, used this as a pretext to have Darius executed,
Right.
causing Vermina to lose her wager.
Right, exactly.
So they twisted everything
Right.
just for this one guy to suffer.
So Shoggoth basically did almost the Joker idea of be
Yes.
like, you think you've got all this power, let me flip it on your head and show you what your power actually
Yeah.
means. Okay.
So they just really love to play with the lives of mortals for their own amusement for the most part.
Yeah, I'm very got a book
Sometimes for benefit,
there's a Book of Job vibe
more
here.
often than not.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
So, with that groundwork laid, I think we should say goodbye to the Elder Scrolls universe for now.
For now, we'll get back to it, but I think we did 4 episodes. So if you are like, I want more, there's plenty more out there. Obviously, Written in Uncertainty by Eremithius
It's probably the one that we know
we
well
would
enough.
suggest go there if you just want the lore, but obviously there's tons of great games that have been done by Bethesda.
And, there's YouTube channels. There's Fudge Muppet is a good one.
Fudge Muppet. That sounds so
Avarti
vulgar.
is a good one.
Avarti, okay.
And I'm trying to remember, there's one more off the top of my head. Oh, Epic Nate 315 is also a good one.
Oh, Epic Nate 315. Yes. I know of him.
So, but next time we're going to take a dip into another game, not a full lore thing. Well, we're doing a lore thing, but we're not doing a universe.
We're just, because this is going to be possibly just one episode.
It is going to be a single episode on the game, on the classic adventure game, The Dig.
The Dig, which
So
we're going back to a game where I know nothing, absolutely nothing about The Dig.
So we'll dive into that and the story of its development and its story and stuff, and that'll be fun.
Yeah.
After that, it's kind of up to patrons, so please come join us on Patreon.
Yes, patreon.com/loretogether. We need people to vote. Vote!
And that's about it for today. So
Thanks so much for listening. Again, not only do we have the Patreon, but you can always reach us on Twitter @LoreTogether. That's usually where I'm hanging out. You can reach us on our email too, which is loretogether@gmail.com, which recently Mystic's kind of been more taking control of. And
on Reddit, you can find me at LoreTogetherPod.
yeah. And
I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening.
yes, thank you for listening. Come 2 weeks from now. Oh, and patrons also at all levels, right? Get to see us stream
At $3 and up.
$3 and up. Okay. Patrons at level $3 and up don't have to wait 2 weeks for us because we do a live stream every other Thursday. So the Thursdays when we're not releasing just to patrons, we are doing our stream for people who pay $3 and up per month.
Next stream will probably be more Skyrim.
Yes.
But after that, you'll probably be playing The Dig on the one after that, which will be so much fun. I want to see how you handle a point-and-click adventure.
I hate point-and-click. Oh, guys, just if you want to see me get tortured, there we go. But I guess that's it.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Mwah, bye-bye.
And given what's going on, stay safe and healthy, people.
Please stay safe. Social distancing is a thing, and that's why we love loving you from a distance. So
stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks with another episode.
yeah, we heart you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.